All right, before I get into this video, full disclaimer, I haven't really seen Shedeur Sanders play a ton. I know that sounds crazy. They had broke all the college football ratings, records, and all that stuff. I don't know. I wasn't one of them. It just kind of ended up not happening. I've seen him play a little bit, but I was pumped. My team threw some clips in here. Also, I think last week, the week before, Las Vegas came out and said that the odds-on favorite to be the #1 pick next year is Shedeur Sanders. So now I'm going, all right, let's see. I'm gonna break down some clips and we're gonna look at things that I see that I would go, yeah, that's some #1 pick stuff right there. And then other things that we might see where I go, you got a couple of months to address this and fix this, which by the way, I could have done with Caleb Williams last year, could have done with Bryce Young the year before, and so on and so forth. So it's not a knock. It's just, yeah, there's things to address and it ain't just the old line. All right, before I get into this first clip, let me tell an old story. For years, I was on this committee for former NFL players. It was called the NFL Legends Youth Advisory Committee. It was myself, it was Dion at the time, who was not coaching college football, Willie McGinnis, Chad Pennington, Trent Dilfer, who was also not coaching college football, Mark Brunell, who was not coaching in the NFL at the time. So this was a few years ago. And I remember before one of the meetings, I was basically the only not famous person in the room. And Dion goes, "Hey, JP, my baby boy's gonna be a quarterback." I go, "Really?" I go, "Can he run like you?" He goes, "Oh no. He can't run like me, but he can play like Brady." And so it's so funny to think back. I think he was talking about Shedeur like early in high school at that point. So to get that and then fast forward to now and see Shedeur on top of the college football world is pretty full circle for me. So pumped to get into this. Now, to put into context for this clip here, I'm going to break down the play, but it's currently 48-27 with 12 minutes and 3 seconds left in the fourth quarter, and it's 4th and 5 from the 9-yard line. There's a gotta have it situation you need to do to make a play. So aside from the play, here's some context. This dude absolutely thinks they can win any game, even if it's 48-27 with 12 minutes left. So drops back, right? And everybody's kind of dancing, making too many moves here, right? We need a quick winner here. Even though it's a 4-man rush, we got a jerk route underneath. Okay, so he's going to run here, shake. He can go either direction. He's going to whip out. This guy's dancing too much over the top. And keep an eye on the slot up here. Okay, so Shedeur starts with his eyes right, buying time, feels pressure, essentially a free runner, gets his eyes back, and in really 2 steps, loads up, coils, and just rips this thing across his body. It looks sick from behind because this is between 2 defenders here. Watching number 14, whoever that is, okay, and throws it down here. Now, if I'm going to get picky and talk about this, ball placement, we want these things up, all that stuff. I don't care. This guy's making a play, but it's a great throw. It's a really great catch to be able to dive and find that thing. Super hard. But again, to be in this situation, so we're talking about the whole #1 pick thing for next year, you kind of got to have the comebacks. You got to have the improbable victory or the almost victory. I think it was 48-41. And so he definitely has that, whether it's in his blood, whether it just shows up in the offseason because he grinds it out. I don't know. But either way, he's got it. And this is a perfect example of something that a team is going to look at, and they're going to file this away when they're building a case as a, do we draft him, do we not? The check mark is going to go when you have games like this, and I'm sure he'll have 1 or 2 this year too, where you're not even supposed to be in the game right now. It's supposed to be over, and yet your quarterback keeps getting knocked down, getting back up off the mat, and throwing a haymaker again. Next play. This is not pretty, so let's have a mechanical conversation here. Now, I pulled up a miss. Jordan, you always make highlight plays. Well, no, I can pull up a miss on anybody. I can pull up Caleb Williams misses. I can pull up Jaden Daniels, Drake May. I can pull up misses on anybody. That's fine. What I want to talk through is the mechanics, and this is under the category of things to work on. So this right here, he's going to take 3 and a hit, kind of, and he's going to throw an out route to the slot on 3rd and 4, and he's going to sail it over the guy's head. Again, I can find clips of Patrick Mahomes doing this too. So this is more about a mechanical conversation. So if he were in this room right now and we were going to break down tape and figure out how to get better, one of the things I would look at is think about it, and I think I've mentioned this in another video. If you switch this over to basketball, there's really 3 types of shots in basketball. There's uncontested shots, like you're wide open, shoot it, or a free throw. There's contested shots where you got somebody in your face closing out, hand, they're yelling ball, 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 whatever, and you got to make it. Or there's a dude closing out, and I'm going to take a contested shot and turn it into an uncontested shot, whether that's a step back jumper, crossover, or a fadeaway. This is an uncontested shot. So this is like, you know, a good NBA player or the future #1 pick in the NBA airballing or really missing an open jumper from the elbow. That's, I think, how I see this. So I want to look at it and go, all right, So then is it just a miss? Is the route depth off? That's stuff I don't know, but I don't. I think it's mechanical, okay? So first, and this is something that I spend a lot of time with guys on, when we're in gun and we initiate movement, there's 3 things that we got to do when we're in gun, okay? And this is under center too, but in this case, gun. 1, I got to start with stability. Good base, pushing my feet apart. I have to start from a stable position to allow the second thing to happen, which is have an efficient first movement. An efficient first movement, whether you punch, left foot forward and gun, right foot forward and gun, I don't have a preference. I have too many clients where their coaches have them do too many different things, but we can, regardless of which foot's forward, we can start with stability and we can have an efficient first movement. If you do both of those things, what you allow yourself to do is maintain connection throughout the drop, whether that's RPO, play action, 3 and a hitch, bubble screen, whatever. So looking at start with stability, when our upper body sinks like this, look at the first movement. Upper body goes back, okay? And again, some of your favorite players on Sundays do this too. I'm not saying that he can't play because he does this. I'm just saying this is what I'd work on. So an inefficient first movement is, and here's one indicator. Watch his right foot. I'm getting picky with it, but this is what I do for a living. See how he rolls off that right heel? So picture that yourself, you got to move a refrigerator, okay? Super heavy. You're going to push with your back, right? You're going to try and just scoot it back, okay? If you do that right now, if you try and push the wall, push yourself through a wall right now, you're not going to be rolling off your heel. You're going to be pushing through your toe. So I'm not saying don't roll off your heel. I'm saying that's an indicator that the weight is simply passing over your body. You're not using the ground to move. You're using momentum to move. Myself, QB Summit, Mike, who coaches with me, momentum is like the F word. Like, we don't use that around here, okay? We're trying to remove momentum from people's game. Unfortunately, I've seen quarterback coaches around the country who want to use momentum. It doesn't make any sense. It's an inefficient movement if my upper body is creating the movement. So enough with the nerdy stuff. If you're still watching, let's keep going, okay? So upper body initiates the movement. That's why he's rolling off that right foot, okay? And kind of skips, and look at where his shoulders are. Right now, his shoulders are really at this angle. His hips are at this angle and his feet are in this line. So we're just kind of mixed up here. And what that's going to do is that's going to force us to push another reach. Here's another rule. If I'm standing behind you and I'm looking at you and I can see the bottom of your cleats, what that means is you're not connected to the ground. Okay? So your upper body, your momentum's taking over. So that's when people reach. Picture yourself going down a ladder, reaching, looking for that next little rung to step on. Okay? Well, that's all that's happening here. So didn't start with stability, inefficient first movement. Now we don't have any connection throughout the drop. He's now going to land, coil, and look right here. When his right foot hits the ground and he starts throwing, his hands come apart. He's still going backwards subtly. So now, if I look at other clips, it'll look like a different throwing motion. This isn't a miss. He put himself in a position to miss. Now let's talk about landmarks. Okay, so he's going to start right here. The camera's going to move a little bit, but he's going to start right there. Look at the drift to the left. Okay, now you might go, well, he's got space there, and that's fine. But my point is this: if this is a 3-no hitch or a 3-hitch, boom, balls out, no, I do want to be behind my center, because what's going to happen, and I have NFL clients where this is something that we talk about, you don't want to drift behind your left guard or left tackle. And in this case, he's starting right here behind his center on that part of the C. He's letting this thing go, and he's really in that left B gap, right? But more importantly, because of the momentum, I can see your cleats, okay? Now he's going to hop, land, and throw, so there's never actually a change of direction. There's no stability on that crossover step, that left foot, to now get a change of direction when the right foot hits the ground, where I can put force in the ground, create leverage, and drive my hips towards my target. So why'd he miss? Because he's kind of leaking this way and he's trying to throw it that way, okay? There's some really good players on Sundays that do this too, okay? And so if you look at this coil, it's all because this hop off the left, airborne, I don't want to have no connection to the ground right before I throw. It's just going to be a little different every time. And he could totally do this again the next play and hit the guy in the face, but we're not talking about making a throw. We're talking about going to 100 for 100 on these uncontested shots. So he lands, coils, okay? This is called getting into flexion. So instead of his right butt cheek going back, that knee's going forward. So that knee's getting into flexion, and that's just a lack of stability. Quads take over, glutes turn off. Now we've got to use momentum. So watch what he does with his upper body. So this is called lateral trunk flexion, okay? So I'll draw a line right here. Here's his center of mass, where his weight is. And then now look at the angle, spine angle here. So we've gotten to full lateral trunk flexion. I'm not saying he's a leaner when he throws. I'm saying on this drop, on this play, he put himself in a position where the only thing he could do was lean, okay? And so I don't know if this is an overstride for him. I don't know what his stride usually is, but I just think that's a pretty wide position to throw the ball 20 yards to an open guy, which is why these are typically high misses. If you got a strong arm, this is typically a high miss. If you're a high school kid growing up and you do this ball is going to die at the guy's feet. Shedeur's got a big, strong arm, so that's why the miss is up there, and that's why his guy is all frustrated. Anyways, I'm not saying he can't play. I'm not saying he does this all the time. I'm just saying on this play, this is what happened. All right, final play. Let's get back to a good throw, okay? So here he is right here. Just peep the slot right here, okay? He's going to start with his eyes left a little bit, and his boy's just screaming through the slot. This is a great ball. Look at this from behind before I get into the mechanics, okay? Holds, rips, great ball placement, okay? This is exactly where we want to put this ball. Easy catch, touchdown. Now, here, so great throw. Here's something where I go, this is a hard one to repeat. This is hard to do over and over and over again. We don't want to make this about talent and arm talent and ability to rip it in there and drop in dimes every now and then. Quarterbacks, we want to repeat patterns. You don't get really good at golf by being super athletic. You don't get really good at golf by hitting your driver 330. You get really good at golf by being able to repeat patterns over and over and over again. So your misses go like this, and you're usually tapping in for par. That's how you get good at golf. So if he wants to repeat these patterns, again, I'm gonna go back to the drop, okay? We get low like this, and people ask me, what do you think about Jalen Hurts' gun stance? If you watch Jalen Hurts get into his gun stance, the first thing that happens is his butt goes back. He gets into a hip hinge before he lowers. So he doesn't sink into his quads and lean forward. What this is not a position of stability. So if I were to come up and push on either of his shoulders, I'd probably tip him over. Okay, so this sink, and this is just interesting footwork, okay? This is 1, 2, and then he's kind of turning and hopping. And we're not fooling anybody here, so I don't think this is because of the defense. I think this is just kind of how he's worked it. But what he does is, because of that inefficient movement, he splits and hops. Now, look at that left knee cave in, okay? Why is that important? If you're watching this and you can do this, go ahead and do this. Stand up, put your feet shoulder width apart. And if you just push your feet apart and you try and widen your knees as far as you can, if you take your finger and you poke your butt cheek, you're going to feel that it is contracted, okay? Here's what that means. When our knees are a good joint alignment between our hips, knees, and foot, or our knees are outside of it, what's happening is your glutes, the biggest muscle in your body, by the way, are responsible for widening and spiraling out or externally rotating your femurs. Okay, so that is a very stable position to be in. If you jumped in the air and landed right now, you would land like that. Okay, your knees wouldn't come in. What happens is if you stand up and you pull your knees together, take your finger, poke the outside of your butt cheek, you will find out that it is not contracted. And if you pull your knees together and try and contract your glute, you can't. You physically can't. So with this position right here, with the left knee caved in like that, it tells me that it's a lack of stability. Because when the left knee's caved in like that, our glute just turned off. So now on the right side, watch when he lands, watch that right knee. The first thing it's going to do when he throws is cave in. So he lands in a position where the left glute's turned off. He goes to throw, the right knee comes in, the right glute turns off. This is another way of saying this throw is all arm. And it's a dime. It's for a touchdown. It's to tie up a 14-7 game versus their in-state rival. It's a great play. But again, number one pick, what to work on. You got a handful of months here. I would work on what I said about the gun drop and then throwing from a stable position and getting your body to understand the difference between having stability and not. Because this is a sick throw, but it's a hard one to make over and over and over again if you're doing it from an unstable platform. Now, a casual fan watching this, you can light me up in the comment section if you want. When a casual fan watches and they see the width of a person's feet and they're outside their shoulders, they say that's a good base. If their feet are narrow, you'd say that's a bad base. I don't really use terms like good base, bad base. It's either stable or it's not. And you can have your feet get too wide and you can be unstable. You can have your feet get too narrow and be unstable, but you can also have your feet be about shoulder width apart like they are right here, just outside, and not be stable. It's really what your glutes and what your hips are doing. So right here, the drop, the gun stance, upper body initiating the movement, rolling off that right heel again, okay? And now that quick, I don't know what steps this is, but land wide, left knee caves in. He's got to use momentum here, okay? Right knee caves in now. And so let's look at it from behind. Left foot. Again, I don't want to have my feet off the ground right before I throw. Land. Those cleats are sick. Left knee caves in. First movement when he goes to throw. Right knee caves in. So we're essentially not using the ground to throw. We're not pushing through the ground to drive that hip forward or to the left of our target. Start to create that separation between our pelvis and our trunk, start to load this line of tension, that throwing sling. And so what are we going to do? We're going to end up with lateral trunk flexion leaning to the left. That looks like a good 15 to 25 degrees of lateral trunk flexion. Most of the guys I work with are around 10. And so this is the type of stuff that can totally be addressed in the off season. There's enough big time ball, handling big moment, being a superstar, famous, almost flirting with iconic, symbol in the community and in football, and be the face of college football this year. He has handled all of that so well. Seems like a rad dude. I love his swag. I love all the commercials. I love all the content. I love all of it. But he got a handful of months. And so what needs to be addressed to be able to take a really successful 2024 campaign into the NFL? It's actually simple. It's simple fixes like this. Thinking about stability, thinking about momentum versus connection, and building enough repetition where you can repeat that pattern on Saturdays and then down the road on Sundays. After watching him, I'm a big fan because I think these are simple fixes. And I have seen the stats and I have seen enough of it. Dude got sacked more than anybody, kept getting back up and willing his team to wins or willing his teams to productive days on offense. So I'm a fan. I can't wait to watch him next year. Can't wait to see if any of these things have been addressed and if his best ball is ahead of him.